it's not a case of being rock and roll and making it and then leaving your kitchen when you're 30 because you're already done. You're already burnt out.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Burnt Chef Journal, hosted by myself, Chris Hall, the founder of the Burnt Chef Project. This week's guest is Clare Smyth, who has recently become the first female 3 Michelin star chef within the UK. She joins us to talk about her career spanning over 15 years working for Gordon Ramsay, and also what it's like now to own her own business at core and the direction in which she wants to go in terms of promoting staff well-being, looking after them in terms of their resilience, and also building their skill sets. I was taken back by how driven and how insightful Clare was, and also her vision for hospitality. And it's an episode that I really hope that you enjoy as much as I did.
Allensworth are your partner in potatoes. We're a leading global frozen potato manufacturing business with a wealth of experience in offering a portfolio of high-end and quality products on a consistent basis. We supply the pub, casual dining, QSR sectors. We believe in wellbeing through potatoes, and we are very proud to support the Burnt Chef Project, here to offer our support and help for those that need it and any solutions that you need for you and your business.
Hi Claire.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good, thanks. You?
Yeah, not too bad at all, thank you. Firstly, thank you very much for joining me, and also congratulations as well on the 3 Michelins. It's an incredible achievement. How does it feel?
Yeah, I mean, it feels great. Obviously, dream come true for me. It's one of those things you always work as hard as you can and just hope you get there one day. But yeah, I mean, it's great. And I think, I obviously put a lot of work into my career. I'd spent 15 years working at 3 Michelin starred level previously. So it goes to show that work paid off, and and it was worth it to do it in core in just over 3 years. It's pretty cool. So the team are ecstatic.
It's it's a momentous occasion. Hopefully you've made the most out of it despite the current restrictions and lockdown.
Yeah, we just have to, I think at this current situation, globally, everyone's in the same boat. And, I'll take the 3 stars. I'm very happy with that. And I'll wait patiently to be able to celebrate with the guests. It is kind of first world problem. So, I know we're going to reopen. We're very solid. We've got a brilliant team. We've got all our team. They're still well and healthy. They're still with us. So we do have to be grateful for that, and we will just have to wait.
Yeah, definitely. So, Claire, what I usually like to do on these podcasts is just start by asking my guests to talk a little bit about their culinary journey and what's how they got into the industry, what sort of inspired them into hospitality in the first place, and sort of how they've come to winning 3 Michelin stars currently. So, I wondered if you could just take us through that a little bit, please.
Yeah, sure. I like lots of chefs, started cooking at the age of 16, grew up in Northern Ireland, moved to London, really, for my first job at Bibendum in South Kensington. And then it was really about Michelin for me, Michelin stars. It's what I wanted to do. Worked in France for Alain Ducasse, for Gordon for many, many years, and then obviously core in 2017. So that was my goal, to own my own restaurant, and yeah, here I am.
That's amazing. I saw that in an interview you did with The Guardian, you said that from the very early days, Gordon said that he was going to make you into a leader, which I found quite interesting.
Yeah. I was quite a shy young chef, I think. And so, yeah, he said to me, as a young person, you're shy, but you've got talent. And we're going to teach you how to run a kitchen, and the best kitchen that I could possibly learn to train in. And yeah, that was it really, but the best possible place for me.
Was that something that you thought you'd like to have done in terms of like actually lead a team? I know that Michelin was the sort of the ultimate goal, but had leadership ever sort of come into that equation for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think naturally, it's kind of you, like all chefs, I guess you you start running a section first. Then, you get promoted, sometimes too quickly in this industry. It's almost, if you get half a brain, you get promoted before you've actually grown up or have any management skills. And I got through, restaurant Gordon Ramsay pretty quickly. I think by the age of 25, I was already senior sous chef. And then I went off to France. But, my first really sort of head chef job, I was actually 21. So before that, I was already a head chef in Cornwall. At the age of 21, I was a terrible cook. But it kind of taught me a little bit of taking responsibility. So I could do a food cost, I could do a menu, I could do things like that. But I knew ultimately that I wanted to work at a top level, which is what I did in 2002 by going to restaurant Gordon Ramsay. But I think, I was 28 when I took over restaurant Gordon Ramsay. I was young, a big responsibility. That kitchen, probably the most famous restaurant in the world, the only 3 Michelin star restaurant in London at that time. And I was the first woman to head that up, and everyone was pointing that out, was saying, she's the first woman. And that put a lot of pressure on me because I didn't want to be the first woman to lose 3 Michelin stars. And that was playing on my mind the whole time. And I think, I was filling big shoes, and it was eyes were on me, and it was a case of, can she handle it? Is she strong enough? And so I started to run the kitchen very much in the same style that kitchen had been managed in. And actually all kitchens were quite full on and aggressive places in that time. Louis Cairns and Alan Ducasse, there was no holds barred in that kitchen either. But and perhaps I wasn't the best manager back then. Well, I definitely wasn't. I didn't have the experience, the life experience to lead a team. Many of them were still older than me. I think something that we in this industry never teach people how to be good managers. And it was something that, Gordon worked with me a bit on. And then, as time went on, I grew into my own shoes, my own confidence. As I retained the Michelin stars every year, I started to develop a bit more my own style. And then just realized, probably by the age of about 30, that, I needed to change. I needed to change for me, to be a better manager and to have a better team that wasn't just leaving all the time, because back then it was like a revolving door of staff. And it was all about being tough. And it was that kind of environment, of that adrenaline fueled environment. And actually it wasn't me, it wasn't who I was. And so I then started to really think about how I could turn it around. And that's when, from that day on, I think, restaurant Gordon Ramsay started to change. And then it evolved completely by the time I left. I think, there were times where we had, 9 or 10 chefs in the kitchen in the beginning. By the time I left, there was 18, 19. And it was a great team. And I know you spoke to Matt Abbey, who was one of those guys in that team with me. And we transformed the restaurant. And then when Core opened, we decided we would go even further, a step further, with how we would look after our team and maintain our own well-being as well as my own well-being, because it's our lives. This is my life, this restaurant. I come into it every day. It's my home, and I want to enjoy it. I want everyone to enjoy it. And I think that's so important to be able to go into work and feel happy. And it is our lives. We spend more time at work than anywhere else.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's the hospitality industry is notorious for being a tough industry, but also very long hours. And we are a family. We have to look out for each other and most importantly, enjoy where we work. But I mean, I guess what I'm quite intrigued. I'm on using this podcast almost as a voyage of discovery as well, because I think there are many people out there who just don't know where to begin in terms of how they change. And as you say, you first couple of years you went about it perhaps the wrong way, but it was the way that you've been taught or the way that you inherited and that you knew. So how long did it take you to start to change things within that sort of environment, and what sort of things did you change?
I really started to just start to talk to people a bit more. The team just started to understand a little bit about different people's personality types. Back then I thought that I could make everyone do everything. and I didn't understand that not everybody can do everything and everybody is different, and you don't have to throw them out because they can't do a certain thing, and everybody's at a different level. So really start to see people as individuals, and they're on separate journeys. And actually it's something that, saying that even further to that, to core, now, individuals was so important to me, because I love to see their personality. Like it's as I say, it's my life, it's my family around me here. It's like, personality, someone that's cheeky, someone that's got a smile, someone's better at looking after someone else. And actually, maybe not everyone in the kitchen is going to cook the fish or the meat section, but someone might just be that comedian in that kitchen that just lifts everyone else. And that's just as important. Someone might be more caring, someone might be really hardworking, but a team is made up of individuals with different personalities and different strengths. And that's something that I've learned more and more about, and actually have so much more enjoyment out of seeing these young people that work with us and their personalities.
Yeah, I mean, it must be incredible. I'm assuming that your retention is strong within core, and I take it a lot of people you probably worked with previously as well, have you?
Yeah, huge, Chris. Do you know what I did when we got the 3 stars? I looked at the team because I was going to do something for them. Can't tell them yet what it is, but and I got the sort of the team, the staff, and I went through how long they had been here for. And so we've been here for just over 3 years, and actually there were 18 members of staff that had been here for almost the whole 3 years, and I think there's about another 14 that had been here more than 18 months. And when I looked at that, and I thought to myself, do you know what? There's why I've got 3 stars. That's why, right there. That's the evidence. It's just maintaining an incredible team, working with them and training them. That says it all. And that's the proof of the pudding, how important it is to retain and look after your staff.
Yeah, massively. So, I mean, it seems over the years we've got used to the fact that if you want to obtain accolades and if you want to be the best, then you have to do it at all personal costs, and also not just personal costs, but the cost of other individuals as well around you. And what you're saying is actually no, you don't need to do any of that. You can actually run a happy, healthy business whilst also achieving all your sort of greatest ambitions, really.
Yeah, definitely. We used to think that, at all costs, like you say, at all costs, you had to work 18, 19 hours a day, and at all cost of all sacrifices personally and people sacrifices. And our restaurant director, Rob, we said how ridiculous that is to cook some wealthy people some food, to get them their dinner on time. We need to keep things in perspective, and look after our health and well-being. And looking after our health and well-being does result in better food, better service, and confidence. Like, one of the most important things for us at Core, and since day one, has been the training. So we do 8 services a week, and every Wednesday we train, and that's presentations for the team. And we've done it since day one, and we've religiously stuck to it. And that training has given the team so much knowledge and confidence. It's given them the tools to do their job well. So they're bulging with that information when they come out and speak to the guests, or when they've got new people coming into the kitchen. It just makes them well-rounded individuals. And as we know, that knowledge and skill is what's lacking in the industry. We think that kids are getting promoted far too fast because, like I said, they show some signs of taking on responsibility and intelligence, and then they get promoted, and then they're too young, they don't have the life experience, they get burnt out, and either they leave or they just feel like they're crap because they shouldn't have been put in that position. So we need to keep it slow. We need to teach them, train them well. And being a manager or a leader, even a chef de partie in a kitchen, you'll have people from all different cultures, backgrounds, experience levels, age, language, and you're expected to manage them. When you're 24? Are you going to be a good manager? You just, that's really important as leaders of the industry, that we manage our young people well, and let them grow properly in the industry. So when they do get up the kitchen to chef de partie, sous chef, head chef level, that they are able to cope with doing that job well and enjoy it, and not get burnt out and not be put under too much pressure, because that's what destroys the industry.
Yeah, massively so. And I'm 100% with you on that. There is a huge skill shortage now, and it's exacerbated by certainly a lot of the, we're seeing the turnover of staff happen at much lower ages now. It used to be where, you get to 50 or 60 and then you would sort of retire, but now we're seeing that at much lower levels. And then that sort of skill shortage and that gap is increasing because of the fact we just don't know how to, or up until recently, we haven't worked out how to stem that tide. So, one thing that we want to do is educate. Specifically, my target is around management and giving people the tools and building their resilience in order to be able to understand better how people operate and what makes a good team, and how to, as you said, like, how to look at individuals and retain them and look at their skill sets and work within their skill sets so that you've got a team that works with you and will be prepared to go through thick and thin with you as well, but without having to rule through fear. It's such a vitally important thing, and I would just wish more business owners were prepared to spend their time, not necessarily money, but just time, looking at how to implement these changes, because it's not costly, is it?
No, but it isn't. But there's a certain amount of time that we should invest in our team in that training and getting them through. It's I've said the most valuable tool for us. Kids don't need to be in so much of a hurry. I want them to reach their full potential. I don't want them to be a head chef before they're ready and then they're not learning anymore, and then they never really reach their full potential. And it is a difficult industry. You want to give them everything that they can. You're always going to have to work hard, to be at any top level in any industry, for sure. It's going to, particularly the hospitality industry, but that training and knowledge is power for them, and they'll have it for the rest of their lives. And yeah, I can't express enough the importance in spending that time in training, and also difficult subjects that we've faced. So, things like, we're working with customer service training, and we're planning diversity training coming up, and it's not enough to do one session on it. It's got to be done every 3 months, every 6 months, so that with refreshers done. I listen to the reservations team on the phone, with difficult customers, and it can upset them the whole day. I think any negative feedback that any of us get can really ruin us for the whole service, or we take it with us, we take it home with us. We can dwell on it all weekend. We always take things so personally in this industry, and I'll watch my staff really struggle to deal with that, and because someone's just being rude. And now it's about, how do we prepare them how to handle difficult customers? How sometimes in a restaurant, harassment of young female staff from drunken customers. It's happened. It's happened at Core, where I've had to ban one of our regulars, and it was something that I saw happen, and that member of staff didn't want to say anything, and I felt really angry about that they didn't feel like it was important to say something. And as young kids in their mid-20s, they shouldn't feel like they should have to put up with things, but they also don't know how to deal with it. But that's up to me as a leader to give them the tools of how to deal with difficult people and difficult situations, because I think brushing it off isn't good enough. Saying, oh, we just won't let that person go to that table. No, we should give them the confidence to say, you know what, don't touch me, or it just give them all the tools that they know. Right, this is how I deal with this situation. I'm going to fall back on my training now, and they just go through it clockwork. So that's something I'm going to do more and more in the future. And when we reopen, it'll be set in stone. And diversity training, just reminding them, about bad habits that we all get into. I'm terrible, actually. And admitting that you're slip back sometimes. You get annoyed or angry, or you say things you shouldn't because you slip back to how we were trained and brought up. And I do it, and the head chef does it as well. We have to catch ourselves sometimes and think, and sometimes I do say to the guys, you have to excuse me. I shouldn't have barked at you like that. You have to excuse me. Sometimes I slip back to how I used to be, or how I was trained, and I know that it's not right.
Yeah, but you are also only human at the end of the day, and we all have these rise and falls of emotions, especially when you're in a high pressured environment trying to maintain extremely high standards. you know, it's always going to get the better of you eventually. But being able to show that vulnerability afterwards, I think, is key to empowering your staff to realize that you are only human and you also make mistakes as well as a leader, which I think is crucial, really, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, as I said, it's about also looking at other industries. So not just thinking about how do we challenge things, you know, looking at sports, looking at how other industries train and handle people. I always find it quite useful to look at sort of sport in particular, how teams train and things, because it's that same sort of ethos and mentality.
Claire, I'm quite interested to find out how you sort of coped during your transition from from working within a kitchen environment to leading a team of a 3 Michelin. I mean, that must have been, especially as you say, with the additional pressure of retaining those 3 Michelin stars as a female chef. Like, how did you handle that at the time?
I, to be honest with you, I just threw everything at it. I think I worked 18, 19 hours a day. I mean, I just worked and worked and worked and put my head down. I was fierce. I was fierce. I was fueled with adrenaline all the time. I remember Gordon coming in and saying, you've got more press than the Prime Minister today. You know, what have you done? Because the media attention. I had the Sun newspaper turning up at my parents' house in Northern Ireland when it all came out. So the pressure was really like high. It was bad enough, anyway. First head chef's job's most difficult enough. Then, the most famous restaurant, probably, or one of the most famous restaurants in the world. And also taking it over. So it was like a stress of thinking, they're not mine to lose kind of thing. And I need to prove myself and I need to show everyone that I can do this. The eyes of the world are on me. And years later, someone said to me, they thought that Gordon was mad to put me in charge of Hospital Road. And then they said to me, my God, did you prove us all wrong? But, the pressure was definitely there. And as I say, I probably, vented that in not being the best leader. And that sort of, I look back on, it's not something I'm really proud of. It was a culture of a kitchen of that time. But we went through really difficult times. We're short staffed, like the real sort of grind stuff that everyone goes through. I think the company, the group was going through a difficult time as well at that point. Gordon was incredibly busy all over the world. And it was left in my hands, and I felt, I had to survive. It was survival a lot of the time. So regardless of what was going on, I had to maintain those 3 stars. And also, if I didn't, kind of my career would have been over as well. I mean, it was a huge amount of pressure. But as I said, by the time I got to the first couple of years under my belt, I realized I needed to change, grow up a little bit, be a better manager, be a better leader, and start to evolve the kitchen, and stop running it like how it had been run previously, or stop looking at that and start to move to the future. And also my own personality, like I'm very quiet. Like I like complete silence in the kitchen. Like I don't like any banging of pans or anything. So I started to evolve and change it. And Gordon always let me do whatever I wanted. He always backed me, which was the most fantastic thing. I mean, he always let me get on with it. And he said, if you fail, it's your fault, but
No
he let me do it. If I could show to Gordon, this is what I want to do, this is why I want to do it, he would always let me crack on with it. But he would come into the kitchen and he said he wouldn't even recognize it after a while. He said it's unnervingly quiet, because we just changed it and it was a lot less stressful for everyone. We maintained the team. We started to build things much better, like all the stuff that people started to do, which is, cook better meals for people, try and get them half a shift off or a day off and start to really not just work people into the ground. And Gordon was really wanting that to change. The company, the Gordon Ramsay group, really desperately wanted to evolve out of that. So it was a good time to do it. And by the time, it transformed the place. And, some of the people that were with me on the journey remember the early days to how it was at the end and how it is now. It's a completely different place to work.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised when I was chatting to Matt actually, and he said like what a joy it is working there and working with you and also working with Gordon as well, because obviously we only see what the TV and the presenters want us to see. But actually, from what I've been hearing recently, I spoke to Paul Ainsworth the other day as well. He said the guy is a legend, like a fantastic mentor, and you know, one who's fully present with you at the time and very interested in what you're up to, and it's so refreshing to hear as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a fantastic mentor to me. I still talk to Gordon regularly, and he helped me tremendously with core opening. You know, he actually, you know, he took me to the bank. You know, he got his relationship manager at Barclays for lunch with me one day to present my business plan. You know, he set me up with Coots. He set me up with, you know, to help me get me, you know, sort of the agents to look for the properties, and he came to the site with me and all those things. And yeah, I mean, he helped me a lot more than people know, financially as well, you know, and just, yeah, he had already, he said to me, he's achieved more than he ever dreamt of in his life. And he just wants to see that people like myself, who've been very loyal to him through thick and thin, also achieve success.
That's incredible. And thank you for that insight as well. In terms of personal and like in personal care and self-care, because one thing that we're trying to do at the moment is we want to encourage more people to come into the industry. That's the ultimate goal of this whole thing. And we want a much more sustainable industry as well. But to do that, we need happier staff, and we need, you know, better cultures within businesses. I mean, I'm very interested to learn the amount of stress and pressure that you must have experienced in your life, I can't even begin to imagine in terms of being able to uphold all those standards. How have you looked after yourself over these years?
I much better now, obviously, than when I was younger. Yeah, I mean, I just learned to sort of take more time for myself. I think one of the biggest things for me is time to think. I think thinking is really, really important. I think processing things in your own head is something that's really important. Like working things out to know till you get to a decision about how you feel it's about something, so you can move on. Sometimes I'll do it overnight. Sometimes I like to walk every day. You know, I've got a little dog. We go on quite long walks, get out in the fresh air, and yeah, thinking and having that time to process what's going on in your life is incredibly important. And obviously, you know, being surrounded by good people that you can ask advice to, I think it's something really important. You know, asking the advice of the right people, that's something that I find that's really important. You know, it's no good asking the advice of your best mate if it's about something about your career. You know, ask the advice of someone who's achieved what you want to achieve, and someone that you admire. You know, it's great to have a good mentor that you can reach out to and say, you know, I want to do what you've done. How do I get there? So talking's very important, and surrounding yourself with good people, experiencing what we do also. I think eating out for us is really, really important, because we should know how other people feel, you know, how our guests feel as well. It's, you know, we're practicing the art of hospitality. We should also try to enjoy it ourselves. So we love it. You know, we're really, really passionate about it. We should be passionate about doing it and receiving it. And people working with people in the wider hospitality industry, to know that, you know, they go through the same things as you do. You know, when I was the head chef at restaurant Gordon Ramsay, Jocelyn was a head chef at Alan Ducasse at the Dorchester. Now, I had just come back from working with Alan Ducasse in Monaco. Actually, the one of the funnier stories was I was actually he offered me the executive sous chef's job at the Dorchester, and Gordon also offered me the head chef's job. So he wasn't very happy when I left to take over Hospital Road. But Jocelyn and I used to have lunch on the Saturday together and talk about, we'd be facing the same things. Sometimes Jocelyn would phone me up and tell me to calm down a little bit if I had been a bit too harsh with someone that he knew, or, you know, and we looked out for each other. And I think that's really important, just to pick up the phone and talk to people that are in our industry, that you can say, yeah, you know, you face the same challenges as me do, and that's normal.
Yeah, definitely. And that thinking is a big one as well. Certainly as I've got on older, I realised that I shouldn't be so quick to come to decisions, whether that's about my own life or about business matters. And sometimes it just sits in the back of your brain could be for an entire week, and then eventually it will claw its way to the surface and become clearer. That's not to say that everyone has that experience in all times, and as you say, leaning upon someone else to be able to help clarify that thought process is key, really. I wondered if there's any sort of top tips that you would have, aside from the bits that we've discussed, for any person who is sort of looking at following suit, not necessarily heading for the Michelin, but, you know, if there are any other cultural changes or any other things that you can suggest to improve the overall well-being of either themselves or their teams.
I think, I mean, the key it's all, well, putting a comfortable environment for people to work in is kind of the first thing, isn't it? Before any other evolution. So, you know, I think they always say happiness isn't about, you know, wealth, but it is about basic comforts. So, you know, trying to make sure that your staff have facilities that they need, that they have basic things like, you know, healthy meals, that they get enough rest, that they've got, you know, bathrooms to use, you know, like just comfort, like just basic things, equipment to work with, you know, so, and enough staff so that people aren't stressed. So I think forgetting about all the extra stuff and all the training, the basics is just a really good place to start, which is often missing in our industry as a whole. You know, eating healthy, I know that, you know, it's important in lots and lots of restaurants now, but it is so important because that point where you've got to consider how people are, why they're tired. Is it, you know, they've run out of energy? What have we been feeding them? You know, have we just fed them a big pile of stodge for dinner? And they've gotten halfway through service and now they've run out of carbs, or, you know, whatever. It's just like, so we always have healthy food. You know, there's always options of salad, fresh vegetables. During the daytime, there's a bowl of fruit always in the kitchen, yogurts. Every Friday they have smoothies. It's just basic stuff of just their health and well-being, that there's stuff there for them. They're human beings. Like, sometimes I think we all know when we grew up in kitchens, you know, we weren't treated like human beings and it was inhumane. It's funny. I mean, we laugh at it now. I had some, you know, sometimes I catch guys back in the early days, like eating just like out of plastic containers and stuff. I said, what are you doing? You know, you're not a dog. It's not prison. You know, like, you have to eat off of a plate. You have to sit down. You have to make people take breaks. So those are the basic things that you have to get right first. And then obviously everything else is on top, whether it's a training, working with the team as individuals, making sure that they know how to do their jobs properly. So that just stress is something to just try and remove, you know, giving people enough time to learn a section before dropping them in the shit, you know, just basic things like that. Stopping staff turnover, because no one wants to work where people don't turn up the next day, because that's just crap, you know. And it's one of the biggest cancers of our industry, and it's something that we just drew a line under, and we actually managed to stop it at Hospital Road, and we've stopped it at Core. It just doesn't happen, you know. We put people through 2 interviews, 2 days trials, and we really talk to them about whether they want to come here and what it means. And it's a minimum of 2 years working here, and no one leaves. And sometimes people do leave before that because it really isn't just for them, but it's under an agreement and a notice period, and we work it out between us. So it's respect for the team, so that no one leaves anyone else in the shit, because that's the worst thing that can happen. And then people get either pushed back, other people in the team, to go back onto sections, or someone's dropped in it that's not really trained properly. So just to have that smooth transition is so important.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes back to what you were saying as well about borrowing things from different industries as well. Like, certainly within the corporate world, if you did working in the banking sector, or if you worked in an office environment, you would have clear progression routes, and you would have the right sort of level of training to be able to move on to the next thing. And also there is that expectations, as if you're coming to work here, then we expect you to stay, and we'll do everything we can do to make sure that it's a comfortable environment and that you can work at the most optimum level, being both happy, healthy, and performance is good as well. So it's so refreshing to hear. And I know that businesses are starting to change and business owners are looking at this, but there are also still a lot out there who still insist that, you know, you eat on the floor during lunch, and you know, they just don't understand. And it's a campaign that I'll be doing later on in this year about looking at the operating profits of businesses, and trying to explain to business owners who may not necessarily grasp the concept of well-being and mental health, but certainly start to look at, well, if your net operating profits are only 2% and it's costing you £5,000 to employ someone and turn over a member of staff, then do you not think that, by implementing nutrition, good breaks, and implementing a better culture is going to be a much more cost significant exercise than it would be just to keep replacing members of staff and doing detriment and long-term harm to your business? It's
I think that chef owners are pretty good at that, because we live in it ourselves. It's our own health and well-being. We love what we like. I love being in my business. I have no intention of because that's what happens. People, yes, they get burnt out themselves, and then they leave their restaurant because they don't want to be there themselves. It's like, this is my home. I love it. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. I want to be here, and I want it to be a good environment to be in. I think, chefs that are owners in their own businesses, I think, often think about that a lot more than other people that may just be head chef, or they may just have a business, but they might not be working in it themselves. And I think that's also just a big difference, because no one wants to be in that. I wouldn't want to be in that situation, or that, it's not a case of being rock and roll and making it and then leaving your kitchen when you're 30 because you're already done. You're already burnt out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I appreciate you're busy. And before I let you go, I'd like to ask you the same question I've asked all of my guests. So if you have listened to the podcast, firstly, thank you. Secondly, you'll know what's coming. So if you were to travel back in time and sort of visit a, 18 or 20-year-old version of yourself, what sort of advice or what sort of pearls of wisdom would you share with yourself?
I would say not to be too hard on myself, but then being hard on myself is probably what got me here. Sometimes when I used to make a mistake, it'd take me 2 days to get over it. But just to take the time and enjoy the journey, and don't be in such a rush, because all of the things that you learn on the way, it's all the knowledge that's going to give you the foundations to make it all the way to the top. And I was always in a rush when I was younger, but the more you can learn, there's plenty of time once you get to the top. Learn as much as you can, love it, love being in a team of people, enjoy all of that time that you get to cook, because when you get to the other side, you're not necessarily cooking, and it's like you're a manager, a leader, all these other things. And sometimes now I'm itching, and actually I'm itching. I said, Johnny, the head chef, I'm coming in, I want to prep the food. I want to do this and that. And Johnny's laughing at me thinking, what are you doing? But I also can't push them out of the way because they want to do it. It's their job, but I miss that, and it's to take time, enjoy it, enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey, and don't be so hard on yourself, and gain all the skills that you need to. So when you do become sous chef, head chef, it'll be a lot less stressful. You'll be much more effective, and actually you'll probably waste less time getting it wrong.
Yeah, definitely. And bring back the days where you did spend sort of 4 or 5 years in a role learning and perfecting that particular role before you get bumped up, as opposed to 6 months or a year now where you find you go from KP up to head chef within no time at all, because just that's the way it seems to work nowadays. But,
yeah.
It's really, really useful. And I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me. So thank you very much for that, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Chris.
No problem, Claire. I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Burnt Chef Journal. If you want to learn more about the Burnt Chef Project, head over to our website, www.theburnchefproject.com, where you'll find a whole host of resources and information, as well as our shop where you can purchase branded merchandise, which helps support the ongoing work that we do in terms of destigmatizing mental health and educating the industry about mental health and mental illness. And finally, if you do want to reach out and speak to someone, then do use our Burnt Chef support service. It's free, confidential, and available 24 hours a day. Just text Burnt Chef to 85258 and we'll have a trained volunteer text you back within 5 minutes. As always, we look forward to seeing you again next week.